Hello, my name is Jeff Kukral. This is for MFT 6109, examining the impact of values with regard to sexuality. Angie Dickinson once said, "When I completely submerge my sensuality or my sexuality, I am not very interesting." Hello, and thank you for reviewing my video here about our week one question examining the impact of values with regards to sexuality and therapy. Again, my name is Jeff Kukral. I am a student here at North Central University, and the first question we need to address here are what are some societal values related to human sexuality that I have identified or that have been identified? I think the most important thing to first clarify are what are values? Values are mind brain processes that combine cognitive and emotion. That's defined through Dr. Thagard through Psychology Today. It's basically, quote, values are mental processes that are both cognitive and emotional. They combine cognitive representations, such as concept goals and beliefs, with emotional attitudes and have positive or negative variance. That's the technical term. Now, what I'm seeing here is where I think we're going is what are the values in society regarding sex? And values have a moral um, anchor attached to them. What are my values? Am I moral? Am I being just? Am I being following? Am I being within the good religious? Insert Christianity, insert Muslim, whatever. At this point, um, am I following that? Is that my value? The standard from what I'm seeing here, as you can see here, is the standard: one man, one woman. That's sexuality. You should be there. It should be pretty much as plain as possible. Um, not to get into too them, but just missionary, get it done. It's for basically making babies. Moving them forward. The feeling of joy that comes with it is not there. And so that's what I'm wondering is the truth. But the thing is, our values are constantly in a delta or in a changing. It's been changed. Do not ask, do not tell. The hidden. We don't want to show that we might be having fun with sex. We might not, be able to tell people that we're having, relations with a man or a woman or both or whatever, that we enjoy it. So I think we need to first define the system that we're talking about, and everything I've talked about so far is just with that one system, single versus plural relationships. That's the system we're talking about. However, with that delta, with that change that's going on constantly, we are seeing that emotional and values and the view on sexuality is changing, albeit slowly in my mind, but people are becoming a little bit more open-minded to it. So right now, I would have to say that the values in society are stuck at one man, one woman, and what I'm going to classify as vanilla. Just make babies, maybe have a little bit of fun. However, that seems to be changing from what I'm considering the mainstream or the society values. The fringe is now becoming society, if that makes sense. That's what I'm thinking about. If anything, that's people become ashamed. They have some guilt. They have some stigma that's associated with anything that's beyond this vanilla attitude. And that's where I'm seeing people are at today. And now we get to my favorite part of the presentation is my values on sexuality and human sexuality, and what has actually kind of formed those in me. Your own and that of others portion of the question. I'd like to start off with a quote from Marilyn Monroe: "We are all born sexual creatures, thank God. But it's a pity so many people despise and crush this natural gift." I think that pretty much explains where I'm at. I think sexuality and the pleasure that comes with it is just as valid as the procreation side of sexuality and being able to get together with someone and make babies and continue the population. It's two forms. It's two forms of the same act. You can have pleasure. You can have function making babies, and you can have them separate. You can get together and want to make babies. We back in the days when people lived on the farms and needed help to survive, more babies to help. Then over the time you just want to get them because you fall in love with kids. And I mean, I personally have a 14-year-old daughter I absolutely love. But then you can have sex just for the fun. And that's, I think, the change in my attitudes is I am not part of that vanilla. I'm okay with pretty much anything on a personal side. Not necessarily wanting to try everything, but whatever floats your boat, if that makes sense. The question asks, you and that of others. I'm assuming that was kind of like, how you were raised, what brought you up, and I wasn't brought up in a sexually mature household. It was very vanilla, is the term I've been using. In fact, actually, I'm not even sure if it was really there. Really didn't see a lot from my parents as far as affection towards one another. I mean, I know that they did have affection, much less sexuality towards each other. But I grew up, then I went to college, and I think I expanded myself that if it done right, it's okay to be anything but vanilla. My values are be open, be adventurous, if that's it. My 3 questions, as you can see below on the slide here, is, does it feel good? Yeah, okay, fine. That's another positive. You don't want to do something that doesn't feel good, at least the overall feeling. Does it encroach on the rights, freedoms, or feelings of others? With appropriate steps and evidence. What I mean by that is basically your enjoyment, your ability to do anything sexually, or having a different roles or thoughts or love interest or representation of yourself. Does it affect anyone else? And if the answer can honestly be no, it's fine. It's you. It's not affecting anything else. It's not going to affect how many widgets you can make for your boss. It's not going to, affect any kind of political agenda you might have. Well, actually, it might there, but it's okay. Now, I do put in parentheses with appropriate steps and evidence. What I mean by this is, for example, and I'm thinking back to that horrible book, 50 Shades of Grey, where they signed a contract where, hey, I basically can spank, bait, hurt you, but it's all good because we're agreeing to it beforehand. So, that's the appropriate steps and evidence. Okay. And then the third one here is, does it cause harm to oneself or others? That's the big thing. That's where my values, my rights, my self-development has to stop. I can take everything up to be as far as it's affecting me, but if it's affecting someone else without their permission, without their okay, then, that's where it stops. So those are my 3 questions I ask myself. And if it falls with any of those and you're fine with it, go for it. Sexuality does not need to be stuck there. Take appropriate measures. If you don't want to have kids, enjoying these, kind of escapades you might be going on, go for it. It's, just take the steps you need. Be smart about it. Those are my personal values. Basically, as I said, anything free. Now, since this is an MFT class, and the conflicts between the values, I'm going to talk about that here, is there is no conflicts for me. That's the great thing. I was trying to think about, the way, is there any conflicts? No. Well, actually, no, change that. There is probably one conflict. If a person finds out that I'm so open, let's say that there is I'm just going to use this, uber religious person who, sex should only be used for making babies, and nothing else, and they find out that I'm pretty free in what people do, that might cause the only conflict I can think of. Other than that, me as a therapist, being open to anything, once again, as long as it meets my 3 criteria, I have no judgment. I don't shut any doors or barriers to them. And that's the good thing for therapy, because I open up and I'm not going to accidentally throw off any of my judgments towards them. If I had, for example, a couple that came in and said, hey, we're in a 3-way. I'm sorry, I've recorded so much, I'm not going to break. Sorry about that. If I had a couple that came in and said, hey, we wanted to open our relationship, we're both in agreement, we're fine with it, we're going to take appropriate steps, we are our number one to each other, we're going to bring in another person, it's mutually acceptable, that's okay. I'm not going to throw anything towards that. Even though that's not something I necessarily would do, I'm open to other people's interpretations of what they want. So that's the only kind of I don't know how do I put it, conflict I can think of is going from the direction of the client towards me for not being as closed or a smaller definition than what they think. As far as the direction from the therapist to the client, it's fine. Okay, to finish up this presentation, just wanted to quickly touch on the code of ethics that the AMFT and the actual CAMFT are abiding by. They're rules, basically barriers that I won't overstep, and that's to keep basically the therapeutic process safe and simple for everyone. We can talk about sexual issues, but we can't partake in anything like that, of course. So that's how I'm going to use those. I'm running out of time, so I don't want to go too far over it. But the code of ethics are basically the guidepost, the barrier that you don't cross. Once you cross it, then you're into probably legal issues that you definitely don't want to be at, because those are legals and those are laws, legals, procedures, everything like that. I can't believe I just said legals. So anyhow, that's where I'm going to be out there. Sorry, my other parts took so long, but thank you.